Hello and welcome to your November edition of Essential Cardano360, your monthly roundup of just some of the latest news and developments from across the Cardano ecosystem, brought to you from the team at Input Output. Now, before we dive in, if you're watching on YouTube and you're not yet subscribed, please remember to do so and hit that bell icon and the thumbs up. And do drop us a comment below, even if it's just to say hello. It all helps to spread the word, help the algorithm, and get more people seeing this. Oh, and a very happy Thanksgiving to all our friends in the US. First up, let's talk about the game that rocked Rare Evo 2024 by showcasing the seamless integration of blockchain and classic gaming, and a bunch of demons. Since then, thanks to the amazing efforts of community members from around the world, it's been showcased in Dubai, Oslo, and Australia. Powered by Hydra, a Cardano Layer 2 scalability solution created by IO, Hydra DOOM aims to serve as a catalyst for folks beyond the space to recognise the power of the Cardano blockchain. Well, there's a new game in town, and this time it's competitive. Let's hear the latest from Trim.
Trim, welcome. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. How about you?
All good. So firstly, Trim, give us a bit of your background and tell us about what you've been doing to date.
So my name is Trim. I'm a product manager at Input Output. I've been involved with a few different products in the company, and the latest of which is Hydra. And we did a demo of Hydra implementing Doom for Rare Evo, and we've showed it at other events as well. So that's probably what most people know me for, if anything.
Yeah, a lot of people saw those demos. So Trim, tell us all about Hydra DOOM. How does it work?
Hydra DOOM, it's such a fun project. It's at the bottom of it, it's a tech demonstration of Hydra. Now, Hydra is a scaling solution for Cardano, and we managed to get Doom running on it as a proof of basically the capacity of it, how well it scales.
Fantastic, but why Doom? To some people, that might seem like a bit of a random choice.
Yeah, so actually there's a great quote, which is from one of the Doom modders. It's like source porting Doom, so getting Doom to run on software it wasn't intended to run on, is effectively the most violent Hello World replacement in computer science. And I think that is exactly what it is. It's like a gauntlet for developers, a challenge, if you will, for like if they have a piece of software or if they just want to prove their mettle as a developer. It's a great way to sort of have a little bit of fun with it and get it running on places where it really shouldn't be running.
Let's talk about the technology. For those who don't know, what is Hydra?
So Hydra is what's called a state channel. If you are familiar with the Bitcoin Lightning Network, it's similar to that, but you can have multiple parties instead of just two, and you can run smart contracts in it. So it's effectively like a mini version of the Cardano network that's running off-chain, validated by a set of people. If you're more familiar with rollups, it's like a temporary rollup. So it's intended to sort of be opened, you can do a bunch of things, and then you can close it back down to the main net.
And you're also using smart contracts within the game to enable it to render in real time. Tell us about how that works.
So the way that this works is when a new player comes in, they get assigned to a Hydra head, and every frame of the game that they're playing, which runs at 35 frames per second, they actually submit a smart contract transaction into Hydra that gets validated. So whenever they want to transition the game state from, let's say, standing here to making a step, to shooting a bullet, to picking up an item, to like even just standing still and having the world sort of evolve around them, every time the game updates, a smart contract transaction is submitted into Hydra and validated. Now, if they try to cheat, so for example, if they want to teleport to the exit or something, the smart contract actually detects this and it kills the game session. So you're not able to cheat. It's verified with smart contracts.
And what makes Hydra distinct within blockchain?
So Hydra is actually unique in a bunch of ways. It is a pretty performant layer 2, but the really unique feature of it is that you can spin up many Hydra heads in parallel. So whatever throughput that you get from an individual head, you can scale that up as much as you want by parallelizing your process. So it's kind of similar to going from a single core to a multi-core processor in your computer. Once the applications are able to make use of that, you're significantly improving the throughput of your system. So effectively what that means is whatever the individual head's capacity is, the capacity of the Hydra system in aggregate is effectively uncapped because you can always spin up more heads. And that's what we've demoed with the Hydra demo at Rare Evo, and that we're going to be doing again in the next leg of the journey.
So you've demoed the game a few times now over in Las Vegas, Singapore. What's changed since those initial demos, and what can we expect to see in the next version?
Yeah, so what we demoed at Rare Evo and then again at Token 2049 and the Argentina Tech Expo was a single player version of the game that we kind of, the one that we had for Rare Evo was put together reasonably hastily and it's a great demo, but it was still, just single player, just the first chapter of the game, and it was a little bit limited in scope. What we've been working on since then is expanding this project a little bit. So now we've added multiplayer, and we have a tournament that is coming up, by the time of this video's release. It's going to be just around the corner, where people are going to be able to compete against first AI bots and then each other in a combat scenario in a deathmatch for real prizes that are going to be distributed on chain following the results of the games.
And as part of the Constitutional Convention happening in December over in Buenos Aires, you've got a few plans in store, haven't you? Do you want to tell us about the Doom tournament?
So the Doom tournament during the Constitutional Convention is going to be, there's going to be two components to it. We're going to have an on-site presentation on I believe the Friday the 6th. But more importantly, and relevant for everyone else, we're going to have an online tournament running. Now, the tournament is going to be comprised of basically three components: a qualifier that starts on December 3rd, a ranking round that follows after that, and an in-person finale that we're going to do in Las Vegas. Now, the qualifier part, that's really interesting because what we're really aiming to do with that is to limit test Hydra, see how much can we actually push this system, what kind of throughput can we actually reach. So what we're going to be doing there is we're going to pit every single player against, 5 AI bots and have them play for a little bit. And we're going to have a limited time window to encourage people to play at the same time. So each player is contributing 35 frames per second, along with all of the AI bots that they're playing against. So each game match is going to contribute around 210 transactions per second or thereabout. So, let's see how many people we can actually get involved and how far we can push this system during the qualifier window. After that, it's going to be player versus player to actually find out, who's the best players. And then the in-person finale is going to be a proper banger of an event.
Now, it's really exciting stuff, Trim. And for the people that want to get involved in the Hydra Doom tournament, how can they do so?
So to get involved with the tournament, it's super easy. Go to doom.hydra.family. And you can either sign up if you're in advance to get a notification when it starts, or if the tournament is actually running the qualifier, you can just jump into the action.
So the Hydra Doom tournament kicks off next week, and with 100,000 USDM in prizes up for grabs, be sure to check out more details at doom.hydra.family and join slayers from around the world down in those tunnels. And a special thanks to all in the community who've been helping make this happen. Now, if that's not too much excitement for the show already, let's switch things up a gear and talk governance. As delegates announce their attendance on X and start to board their flights for the Constitutional Convention in Nairobi in Argentina, let's check in on the governance journey that we're all on in this age of Voltaire. Cardano member-based organisation Intersect has been a key facilitator of the governance conversations within the community, and we asked some of the Intersect team to give us an update. Jack Briggs, Director of Ecosystem, is joined by Lewis Main from the Hard Fork Working Group to discuss the next stage of the technical journey. Then we'll hear from Lloyd Duhon on the budget process, defining how we as an ecosystem working in close collaboration should be looking to use the Treasury to fund future development and evolution for Cardano. And to round things out, Christian Taylor also stopped by for an update on the Open Source Committee's recent work, including their work on funding some of the standout open source ecosystem projects.
Hi everyone, Jack here from Intersect. For November's edition, I'm going to be joined today by Lewis Main, who's going to be updating and sharing progress on Chang 2, which is Cardano's next upgrade, which will bring about the final features of Cardano's on-chain governance to mainnet, so that's super exciting. Next, we're going to hear from Lloyd Duhon on the current progress being made by the Budget Committee as it works through the consultation period for a budget proposal in 2025. And then lastly, we're going to hear from Christian Taylor in the open source world, who's going to share an update on our project support services and also a look to Intersect's Security Council. But before I pass over, I do want to shed some light on the Constitutional Convention kicking off in a matter of days. It's been on the roadmap for a long time, as we've all known, and we've had those workshops. We've had 63 workshops, over 1,400 contributors to the document itself. One of the biggest challenges throughout this whole process really has been to synthesize and make meaningful use of that data, that input, and that information that's come from these workshops. And to do so, A difficult balance has got to be struck between structuring the workshops around particular themes and questions, but also making space for all views to be heard, especially divergent views across the whole document itself. Importantly, all workshops were asked, what other feedback would you like to provide? And during those first workshops, the early ones, feedback was shared with the Civics Committee on their structure and format, which led to them evolving to be more flexible and adaptable during the latter stages of the series. Adding to the process as well, actually, we had additional synthesis workshops with delegates in Costa Rica and Kenya, just to get us to that point where we have a document that we are pretty proud of and good to present to delegates to consider in early December. So, the Constitutional Convention is going to mark that pivotal moment for the entire community where we can come together, celebrate all the work that's put us in this position and to get us to this point. Will we have a constitution that we're all happy enough to ratify with, at least in person? And we shall see. But ultimately, the Cardano Constitution will be one that is endorsed by and has the consent of the majority of the community. Now, you can find out more about the convention by heading over to CardanoConvention.com. You can learn more about the entire process and also find out a bit more about how the convention will unfold and the day-to-day of that week. So with that, I'll now pass over to Lewis.
Thanks, Jack. Hi, my name's Lewis. I'm just giving you the update for Chang Upgrades 2. So the Chang Upgrades 2 hard fork, capable node version 10, is now ready. It has been available for the past few weeks. To all SPOs, exchanges, and dApps, now is the time to upgrade. We highly recommend upgrading to version 10 to stay aligned with ecosystem readiness. You will also find an ecosystem readiness page on Intersect's knowledge base, like what we had for Chang Upgrade 1. This page will keep you informed about the community's progress, so please bookmark it and check back regularly. This upgrade is only as strong as the community behind it, so please let us know your status by sharing updates in the Intersect Discord channel. Links to the channel will be provided in the video description. Preview environment and SanchoNet are available for testing the node release. Follow the ecosystem readiness page for the latest details, including updates on pre-production and mainnet, with some actions already on chain. A quick reminder, you can delegate your stake to a DREP, signaling the ecosystem's readiness for full SIP 1694 governance. For more information on DREPs and delegation, please visit the GovTool site. Stay informed with Intersect's weekly bulletins and development reports. Look out for an upcoming bulletin on wallets, which will be released very soon. If you have any questions about the Chang Upgrades 2 hard fork, please reach out to us at hard-fork@intersectmbo.org. Thank you all for your support. Big thanks to Jack and Tim. Appreciated. And I'll now pass to my colleague, Lloyd. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Lewis. I'm so looking forward to the Chang hard fork number 2. This means that we are unlocking some incredible features for the Cardano ecosystem, and of course that includes the Cardano budget. I'm here today as the subject matter expert for the Cardano budget process and the Cardano budget committee. So November has been incredible. We've had multiple meetings, Ask Me Anything sessions with the different committees, providing us information as to what the committees would like to see happen to Cardano in 2025. The community is meeting on a regular basis to discuss what it is that we're going to build together as we unlock the treasury and move into 2025 and beyond. So what does that mean for us coming up? In December, we're going to have a meeting in Buenos Aires where we're going to be sharing the information that we've learned up to this point as a budget committee with all of the DREPs who are in participation there in Argentina. Following that, we're going to be doing the net change limit and a budget info action as soon as we're ready to do so. But we're not there until the community has spent the time necessary to digest all the elements of all these different budgets from the committees. So join us as we continue the Ask Me Anything sessions, and join us as we get this info action ready to go on chain to represent the first Cardano budget for 2025. Looking forward to seeing how this all turns out, but now it's time to turn it over to Christian with the Open Source Committee. Christian?
Thanks, Lloyd. So I'm Christian Taylor, head of the Open Source Office, or that Open Source guy, or one of the Open Source Cowboys, whatever alias you prefer. For those who have been tracking our progress this whole year, open source has been on an explosion. We just recently got back from the Linux Foundation and did a massive talk with Hart Montgomery with the LF Decentralized Trust, Diane Mueller with Hedera, and talked about Web3 governance and open source, and it was a great session. I do recommend everyone to go watch that. We went into detail doing the different ecosystems and their approach and how Web3 tackles open source and governance as a whole. And I think Cardano's that unique spotlight and my personal bias of how we tackle that and leads into our paid open source model and everything we have going on. But stemming from that, November's been a very exciting month for us all in all. We have our project support survey. I do recommend everyone in the community, if you're building on Cardano or your project, go to that and fill that out. We are trying to figure out what the demand generation is and how the open source office at Intersect can assist you. And we can build these out to even other providers in the ecosystem and how they can help each other. We're just trying to be an info broker and connect people where they need to get connected and find out where your pain points are and how we can help. The other thing that we have coming is the Open Source Committee is in the review of our project incubation acceptance criteria, trying to figure out the delineation between the different phases, what it means to be, you have to go to a remediation phase, and then when your project needs to be publicly archived. So if you're interested in that incubation program or even see Intersect as a potential future home for your project, I do recommend you go see those docs. Feel free to add comments. Everything's live on the Intersect Discord under the Open Source Committee. We do have the explainer videos on the YouTube if you need to get some background before you jump into that. And the other piece to this too is our developer advocates have put in front of the Open Source Committee for their review as well a contribution ladder, just trying to provide a general framework for how you highlight a new user to end up as a core maintainer, and trying to highlight the education and different criteria that go into that and how you make that journey. Again, this with the incubation program tie into our paid open source model that we're trying to push forward. That way we can establish merit-based funding associated with open source libraries and things of that matter. All details are in our paid open source concept video that I recommend everyone go to, because that stems everything that we're trying to pioneer within Cardano as our unique footprint. To that end, too, I do want to give a quick honorable mention that the OSC, in partnership with the Technical Steering Committee, with our security policy, the Security Council is stood up. They were a working group through the Chang 1 hard fork, and now they are putting together the security response whenever Chang 2 will take place. If you go to the Technical Steering Committee, they will have that Security Council criteria there with their charter, what their stand-ins is, and then nomination criteria for anyone who's interested to participate within that council. That's all for November. If y'all want to reach out or get in contact with us, I do recommend doing the Intersect Discord, central hub for everything. And we also do have our YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And if you need to reach out to me directly, I'm at DOpenSourceGuy on Discord.
Thank you very much, Christian, and everyone else. That's a wrap for November's edition. It's been a jam-packed month as usual, and there's plenty more going on behind the scenes. So head over to intersectmbo.org to learn more and how you can participate, and of course our knowledge base as well. Thank you very much.
So thanks again to Jack, Lewis, Lloyd and Christian for those updates. Now, it's worth noting that since that last section was recorded, a new name has been proposed by the Hard Fork Working Group for the second part of the Chang Hard Fork. More on that at the end of the show. Now, Jack mentioned earlier the series of global workshops that have contributed to the drafting process for the Cardano Constitution. It's been a mammoth undertaking with over 60 workshops hosted across more than 50 countries, involving nearly 1,400 people to discuss what the heart of the Cardano ecosystem, its community, wanted Cardano's constitution to look like. The conversation is continuing as I speak, with many more folks across the community assessing the progress to date, looking at alternative drafts and synthesizing all the thinking to create the best possible outcome, a codified set of beliefs and principles to help drive Cardano forwards. As we all prepare for the convention next week, Michael Madoff sat down with just some of the delegates heading to Argentina and Nairobi to hear more about the process and what they're looking forward to next.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Madoff. I started the Voltaire program at IOG back in 2022 as the group product manager for governance. There are three pillars of the Cardano governance system. The first is institutions, the second is democratic consent, and the third we're here to talk about today is the Constitution. And this is a document of rules and principles that we as a Cardano community agree to live by. This year has really been centered on the Constitution point, but how do we write a document that covers such a broad and diverse community like that of Cardano? An amazing 64 workshops took place across more than 50 countries involving nearly 1,400 community members over the course of just this summer, all focused on hearing what the community do or do not want to see in the final Constitution, providing feedback and inputs into the evolving draft document. What's really struck me is how each workshop is its own work of art, an expression of the local community and culture that is forming into a mosaic of the constitutional process. Elected delegates have been coming together through delegate synthesis workshops in Costa Rica and Kenya and online to work through some of the most challenging issues and deeply philosophical questions facing Cardano today. And I've just been blown away by the caliber of that participation. And so we wanted to hear from three of our delegates today to share their story. We have Larissa from Scotland, Maureen from Cameroon, and Lucas from Argentina.
So I, as you mentioned, hosted the Edinburgh workshop, and my work in Cardano has sort of led me to have lots of links and a community that's based in Scotland.
Is there anything unique about Edinburgh or about Scotland that you think has fed into the constitutional process?
I feel like Edinburgh is deeply connected to Cardano, so it felt good to host there. It felt like a bit of an honour with the connections with the university. As for the community in Scotland, I feel sometimes, it's a fairly remote place in terms of the world. So it felt good to be able to offer that opportunity for people in Scotland to be part of this.
Yeah. Was there anything you learned during the workshop that surprised you?
Yeah, I'd say one of the main takeaways from the workshop for me was that diversity of ideas around governance. Everyone had different views, and particularly around what their views of people's roles, like stake pool operators or DREPs or the committee. People had different views about what each of those roles needed to do or what their part was. But the one thing that really struck me was it was clear that everybody valued transparency and inclusion. But as I say, varied opinions on how we can get there or how we can ensure that happens in practice.
Up next, I'm really excited to welcome Maureen from Cameroon to share about the experience in her workshop.
So in Cameroon, we organize workshops to teach people about Cardano governance. And it is very important. It is actually very interesting because Cardano governance is all about inclusion, financial inclusion, which is a very important topic in Cameroon because the banking infrastructure doesn't really favor everyone, and it makes day-to-day transactions very difficult and limited. So the Cardano Constitution tells us that, hey, you can actually make a decision on what you want to happen with your money, with your future. The Cardano Constitution came in as a breath of fresh air, I would say, because it talks about inclusion, it talks about decentralization, which is something that is not very common in our community. And I think that we saw decentralization in the Constitution of Cardano as something that we would like to know more about. So during the workshop, we were trying to look at how it is different from our normal constitution and how we can actually improve on it.
Is there anything else you would like to share with the Cardano community?
I would like to say that they should invest, or we should invest more in education initiatives, because when Cardano started off, a lot of people from other communities, they got to benefit from it. And they knew about it before some regions. And for that reason, there are people who still don't know about this wonderful thing that exists, and they wouldn't benefit from it. I know they are doing a lot as far as education is concerned and actually reaching people to learn and adopt the constitution. But I think that we need to put more effort.
Thanks so much, Maureen, for sharing that. And up next, we have Lucas from the host country of Argentina to tell us about his experience.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I'm very excited. We met each other, I think, quite a long time ago. And now you're coming to my country, to Argentina. The Cardano community in Argentina is very passionate. I'm very warm. So I'm pretty certain that everyone in the Cardano community in Argentina will gladly receive you guys with an open arms and with great food.
Yeah, really excited about that. Before we get to the plans for December, can you tell us a bit more about what happened in your workshop and some of the discussions that took place around the Constitution?
Yeah, I believe my workshop was quite particular in one aspect, is that most of the participants were active builders on the Cardano ecosystem, right? It was not only a holder's perspective on governance, rather a builder's perspective. And I think it was very, very insightful in that regard, because the people that were discussing this were the people that actually building on top of the protocol. For example, we had the participations of the founders of TXPipe, right? They're building infrastructure for the protocol itself, right? And it was very, very focused on the blockchain and how we will create an ecosystem that eventually can become the layer or the base to build more dApps or protocols or companies even.
Can you tell us more about what we have to look forward to in Buenos Aires? I know you already mentioned the food, but anything else about the venues, the experience, all of that's coming together and you've done so much work on?
Yeah, so I've been helping the governance team quite a lot, me and other members, of course, of the community, in making the experience as best as possible. You know, when people started talking about Buenos Aires being the main place for the Constitution, the exact place that came to mind for me was the UBA, which is the University of Buenos Aires, specifically the Faculty of Law, which is this huge building. Probably everyone in the Cardano community will see it as this huge, majestic building, and where the signing ceremony will occur. It's even a better venue. So yeah, it's quite exciting. Many people from the community are hosting side events to that. So previously to the Constitution, there will be a lot of Cardano side events. There will be hackathons. It's amazing. So I invite everyone from the ecosystem that wants to join to participate and join the party. And yeah, of course, it's gonna be a few days filled with governance. It's gonna be probably quite difficult discussions to have. Just in the Costa Rica workshop a few days ago, we were with Larissa there. There were tough discussions, right? Long day of arguing, but I think this is a necessary step. I really try to think of myself as a pragmatic person, right? Thinking about, okay, let's do this in a centralized way, but we actually need to get this done, right? So I'm thinking this is a great opportunity for our ecosystem in the long term, actually, to mature, right? Not only the topics on itself, but rather the people, right? And it's something that it's not told enough is how are we all, the delegates and the people participating in these workshops, over 1,000, maturing, right? It's not like we know everything, and we don't, right? We're learning with this. And this, myself as an individual, I think for the other delegates, has been a really enrichment experience. And I imagine having these same discussions maybe 5 to 10 years from now, when we want to upgrade the Constitution even more, is how well versed, how well prepared are we gonna be to having those discussions. So in that regard, for me particularly, it's very exciting to grow as an ecosystem and mature as an ecosystem in this governance journey, because we are pioneers, right? I've been in DevCon here talking about governance with other ecosystems, and what we're doing here in Cardano is really, really special, and we should be really proud of what we're doing.
Yeah, well said. What does it mean to the Argentine community to have the convention come home to Buenos Aires?
Well, you know, one of the venues that was considered before Argentina was Greece, right? We all know what Greece was for democracy. And Argentina being brought up to that level of actually making something historic happen means a lot. You know, in South America and Americas, we had a really long history with colonization and imperialism and independence, and this wave of independence seems to be like hundreds of years ago, but I feel like having the constitution here in this region, and specifically in Argentina, is like getting this second chance of building a new government, right? We all of our countries in America, we've been struggling or fighting against corruption, against new sort of governments, and now with all these lessons learned, I believe this is a second chance to get it right, right? And this is the second chance to actually create a nation, a new nation, a better nation, more fair for everyone, and eventually even better. So this is the first step to building the Cardano's digital nation. And for me, at least, is one of the most inspiring things I've done in my life.
Yeah, me too. Definitely agree with that.
It's impossible not to be inspired by this. Like, come on, we're building a constitution for a nation of millions of people. Hopefully a constitution that will be here 50 years from now, 100 years from now. Who knows?
Larissa, you look like you were inspired to add something there. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, just as Lucas says, how can you not be inspired by it? And, you know, and I see this as what we're doing now. It's an anchor, but it's something that we can continue to build on and develop. And I think that's really exciting too, that, you know, we're setting those kind of groundstones out now. But the way it's been designed means we can continue to evolve as the ecosystem grows and changes.
Thanks so much to our delegates for sharing their inspiring story on the constitutional journey. And so in closing, it's been an incredible amount of dedication to the governance process, and I've just been blown away by the commitment and the sheer number of hours put in by everyone in the community to engage in these discussions. Really cannot be overstated. So thank you to all who contributed, all of our hosts, everyone who participated. If you would like to learn more, there is a Constitution landing page at CardanoConvention.com, where you can go and find out more about the Constitution itself, the journey that we've been on, and the convention that's happening in Buenos Aires in December. Thank you.
So thank you to Michael, Lally, Maureen and Lucas for that. Delegates also recently joined synthesis workshops as part of the final mile in the constitutional journey. One of those delegates was Gisela Rosa, our seller on X and Adalink co-founder, who flew to Costa Rica to take part. She's very kindly allowed us to share her story here, so let's take a look.
Hola everyone, I'm finally home from the Cardano Synthesis Workshop in Costa Rica. First of all, I want to thank the community that attended the Puerto Rico workshop for voting and allowing me to represent them. I also want to thank Intersect for hosting this.
So I just arrived at Panama, midway from Puerto Rico to Costa Rica to meet the other delegates. It's called a synthesis workshop. All the delegates from the Western Hemisphere are going to review the Constitution. I finally arrived at Costa Rica and it's really nice to get that. So I went to the market. It's called Central Market.
We discussed the changes that have been made to the Constitution in the draft, the questions and concerns gathered by delegates and alternates, and possible new changes to the draft before the convention in Argentina.
So thanks to Gisela for allowing us to share her video here on 360, and a special shout out to everyone who's contributed to the process so far. This year has truly been a cornerstone for governance and community-driven development, and we're all looking forward to see that come together in Argentina and Kenya next week. The team from IO will be on the ground in Buenos Aires and Nairobi, capturing some of the content coming out of the convention, so be on the lookout for that in the coming weeks, and be sure to stay close to X and other social platforms to follow along with the community conversations. Last month we kicked off our first guest creator slot, and we were delighted to be joined by Farid from Dapp Central to give us his thoughts on what October looked like in Cardano land. It was so well received that we thought we'd invite another Cardano legend to join us and share what's caught his eye in November. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Tim. I really appreciate the invite to come on to a show that I've been watching now for a few years to keep up to date with what's going on in the Cardano ecosystem. So it's an honor to be able to contribute to this month's show. So what I'm going to concentrate in this segment is looking at some of the big narratives around Cardano right now. And that will lead us back to the Cardano Summit and some of the announcements there. And towards the end, we'll look at some of the events happening right now and some of the things to look forward to in the next few weeks within the Cardano ecosystem and the broader crypto space. So at the Cardano Summit, I was lucky enough to attend in person. For me, these events are great to be able to meet the builders behind all of the projects, see who's really here to push the space forward and get to know people a lot better. So Bitcoin OS was one of the big announcements there, and this is really highlighting how Bitcoin and Cardano can work together. And with Bitcoin OS, this is one of the announcements was Cardano comes home to Bitcoin and groundbreaking Bitcoin OS Grail Bridge integration. And this here has brought a lot of attention back to Cardano. Even from people that might have discounted Cardano and the technology over the years, they're now starting to take notice again because of the possibilities it opens up for Bitcoin. Even before the Bitcoin OS announcement and what they have created themselves, we've seen projects like Fluid Tokens. You can see a recent post here of how they were delegating ADA from a Bitcoin wallet, being able to delegate that on Cardano. And again, so you could hold your ADA or Cardano native assets on a Bitcoin wallet and be able to talk to the Cardano chain. That's definitely something for a deeper dive video, which I will put together fairly soon, but it's definitely worth mentioning other projects like that have been building for a while now. You also have the likes of Tokyo Wallet, which will be a Cardano and Bitcoin wallet. Begin Wallet will be the same. And there's lots of other projects within Cardano that have been looking at the Bitcoin side for a while now. You look at Maestro, Anastasia Labs, and lots more out there. But with Bitcoin OS, they've created technology that allows them to validate ZK proofs within a Bitcoin block. So this opens up a lot of possibilities because this means that they can send Bitcoin to certain addresses, use a ZK proof there to lock that up, and that can be read by the Cardano chain. So let's say an example of a use case of this might be you wanted to use your Bitcoin to take out a loan on the Cardano blockchain. On Bitcoin right now, you just don't have them possibilities. But with the Cardano side, you have dApps like Liquid Finance, which is one of the biggest on Cardano right now. So you could have your dApps on the Bitcoin side interacting with the Cardano blockchain, and people mightn't even know that on the top level that they are interacting with Cardano, and that's perfectly fine. What we want to see is people using the technology that Cardano has built, and building a simple UI UX on top is very important. So what you want is within a Bitcoin wallet, people can send their Bitcoin. They say they want to use their Bitcoin as collateral, but what happens in the back end is that's used, that's locked up by a proof on Bitcoin. On the Cardano side, the Liquid Finance app is able to read that has been locked up. They can then use that on their side, use that as collateral, and then allow the user to get a stable coin or get something else back into their wallet that they can use for whatever other activities that they want to do. For me, this is massive. Yes, other chains will look to implement this in time, but with the similarities between Cardano and Bitcoin and the UTXO model, we definitely have a major head start here. And for me, I think this is even bigger in that if you look outside of crypto right now, people still look at Bitcoin as crypto as Bitcoin. Yes, it's changing slightly every cycle. We see some outlets and agencies starting to cover Ethereum, Ripple, Solana, ADA. But in general, the biggest focus is still on Bitcoin. We want people to be able to come into blockchain, come into crypto through Bitcoin, and then see what else can they do. And what else can they do is utilizing Cardano DeFi. And that's where we can get a lot more users into Cardano, a lot more interest, a lot more builders, and really advance what has been built here on Cardano. So another big announcement was about NASA and the confirmation that there has been a proof of concept created for NASA in terms of the supply chain and tracking and tracing certain items. We haven't got the full details on all of this yet. Hopefully in time we'll be able to see this. But for me, this really signifies Cardano's position in the blockchain space. When you look at the likes of NASA are looking for proof of concepts on Cardano. You look last year with the Dubai police doing the same. You also look at where the Cardano Foundation is talking here about end-to-end traceability on Cardano, enabling businesses to achieve transparency, trust, and efficiency at scale. So this is all about traceability. Identity is another really big focus of where things are going with Cardano. You look at entities, non-Web3 entities taking a look at Cardano. Another big one here is Vort and what they are doing with Igon. So Vort and Igon collaborate on MVP for secure 3D printing intellectual property management. So again, this is a partnership aims to enable secure access to 3D printing files, automated royalty management, and robust IP protection. So again, this is looking to take the advantages of Web3 and bring them to Web2 entities. And to me, this is only the start of Web2 entities really starting to look into blockchain technology and see what they can use. So when you have entities like the Foundation really driving forward with the proof of concepts, I think this is important. And entities outside of crypto do start to notice. They will notice what other entities or what other companies are actually getting involved in Web3 and where are they getting involved? Who are they trusting? What are they doing? And that's how things can really start to move for Cardano. So just before closing out this segment, just to say we're starting to see more and more projects building on Cardano as well, which I think is great to see. MinSwap launched their IDO platform this month. We see one of the first projects that went through that is Cerberus. They're a project I've had on the channel a few times with their risk ratings, with the indexes, what they are building now. They will also be building into what I see another really big narrative for Cardano is the partner chains. Cerberus will be building one. Nuvola are also going to be launching their own partner chain. Igon doing the same. Midnight, obviously the biggest one so far, the biggest name that will be launching a partner chain with Cardano. Charles recently talked about that in his AMA. I'll cover that in another video on how he referenced how things will work there and how Cardano will be one of the biggest beneficiaries of what they are building. Also, Fund 13 is coming up for Catalyst. Voting is going to start on November 28th, actually today, the day that this goes out, and last until December 12th. Make sure you get in there, I would say. Get in, vote for the projects, the proposals that you think will really drive innovation forward on Cardano. I really like the aspect of projects that are helping on the scalability side and also looking at bringing more and more Web 2 companies into Web 3 to be able to take advantage of what we have here. The next hard fork is going to happen probably in December. No final dates on that yet. But if you haven't already delegated to a DREP, I would encourage you to go out and do that. There's lots of different tutorials out there on this, different sites, which I'm sure can be linked down below to get you in there. Get involved in governance, get involved in pushing Cardano forward and really making, I suppose, the best chain possible for us that are here already and the ones that are going to come in the future. Again, just want to say thanks very much for inviting me onto the show this month. I really do appreciate it and hope people found the insights here useful. If you did, I put out a lot of Cardano content over on my own channel, Cardano with Paul. Love to see you there and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. And there are obviously lots of live and occasionally spicy conversations out there on Bitcoin and Cardano right now. So check out Paul's channel for a hot off the press interview with the Bitcoin OS team. And remember, none of this is financial advice. Always do your own research. Now, as we can see, the Cardano ecosystem continues to evolve and grow. And what would Essential Cardano360 be like without putting the spotlight on some of the projects building on Cardano? Let's meet more of those builders now.
All right, Zygo, great to have you. Can you give us a brief introduction to yourself and also to Optim?
Hello, everyone. I'm Zygo, Max, tech lead at Optim Finance, and we've been building on Cardano for almost exactly 3 years now. We've shipped our first product in tail end of 2022 after having raised VC funding in 2021, 2022. And since then, we've only continued to deliver massive innovations in the DeFi space in Cardano, with especially our latest release, Aweda, coming around, I want to say 3 months back, and already achieving and granting us the top 6 spot on the TVL lists on Cardano DeFi.
Yeah, so can you give us a high-level primer on Aweda, what it does and why people should be interested?
So in principle, what Aweda does, it grants the very passive Cardano stake and forget users a way to interact with DeFi without having to manage anything, really. All you have to manage is come into the system, mint, stake, earn, and you're done. When and if you ever want to leave the system, you unstake and you sell the asset. You're done then. But it gives you a very simple asset, ADA denominated, that allows you to get yield. Better yield than staking. Right now, it's almost twice as much as staking. So it's meaningfully improved. And this isn't fake yield on tokens. No, this is ADA. Raw ADA. Coming through from strategies. Right now, only 2 strategies. DEX, which gets us volume fees, arbitrage fees, and second strategy of auctioning the staking rights to the entire ADA and funneling that yield into the system. You can purchase a lot of staking rights for 1 epoch. It tends to clear around 4%.
So this is, I mean, it's very simple for on the user's end, but I think it's been a year since we last talked to you about this when it was more in the early design and development phase. And there's been a ton that's happened in the meantime. What's that journey been like and where are you guys at now?
Oh, 2023 was a very dark times in crypto. Very good time to long, but very dark times to be a builder. Very calm, I would say. Now it's more entertaining. And let's just say it's been a long road. It's been a long road, many thoughts, many opinions that I probably shouldn't share. So let's just say we've come out the other end more experienced, more mature.
Yeah. And what's going on in the OADA and Optim ecosystem at the moment?
Right now, the biggest thing happening is the Catalyst Partners Program. It's been a pilot ran only on OADA, where projects can come in and provide liquidity on their token against OADA, which gets them ranked in the top 5, point system, time weighed, liquidity provided, and to those that manage to get on top 5, they get voted on Catalyst. So compared to other DeFi projects, this is a more equitable, more permissionless way to get votes. And I'm very proud of the results that this has accomplished.
Well, so thinking about OADA's place in the Cardano DeFi ecosystem, but DeFi ecosystems more generally, I'm sure you've had a lot of thoughts about how innovation happens in these ecosystems and what needs to happen for ecosystems like this to function better. So what does Cardano DeFi 2.0 look like in sort of your hopes and aspirations?
Right, so Cardano DeFi 2.0 is, to give broad strokes, about permissionless access to DeFi building blocks. What that means entirely and why DeFi on Cardano has been very slow to grow boils down to exactly this. There isn't a good way for permissionless protocols to permissionlessly talk to one another. And there's just a lacking of infrastructure. OADA, in my sort of thesis, is the first big protocol to actually need such a thing. And we've managed to make it work thanks to the work with ourselves, with Splash, and the work with other protocols as well. Now, this entire scheme is to make actual incentives, make actual real tangible benefit come to builders who actually adopt and choose the better path forward. Without it, the Cardano DeFi ecosystem won't grow as much, and it might even completely just fizzle out as growth stagnates and nobody can actually come and build new things. OADA is a play on actually having a protocol that says, no, you need to build it right for us to actually care. You need to build it in a way that we can integrate with it without introducing any centralization vectors onto our protocol. And we need the yield. We want the yield from your protocol, but we're just not going to be able to do it if you don't build it right.
Yeah, and so what is going on in Optim at the moment that people should be excited about and watching?
Right, so in December, it's going to be or January, it's going to be very soon to OUSD, to OADA Borrow, both platforms enabling leverage in the future for many DeFi things. But in the very beginning, it's just going to be leverage against simple tokens, but in the future, way more than that.
So if people want to keep up with what's going on at Optim, where should they look?
Well, you should come and look at our X, formerly known as Twitter. You should look at our Discord, and we also have a Telegram channel now. So pick whatever you want. There's most discussion happening on Discord. That's where it's most active. But we were looking to expand our presence on Telegram and sort of cross-post everything that's most meaningful. But the actual core discussion is happening on Discord.
Excellent. Well, Zygo, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Philip, it's great to have you on the show again. So tell us a little bit about Anastasia Labs.
Anastasia Labs is our R&D firm that was founded at the advent of smart contracts in Alonzo on the Cardano blockchain. Our focus is increasing the availability of open source tooling and code to, make the developer onboarding experience easier, make it easier to build on Cardano, cheaper to find developers on Cardano, and easier to get your project from the concept phase to implementation on mainnet.
So Philip, let's chat a bit about Midgard. How does it work and what does it do?
So Midgard is a framework for building layer 2s, much like Optimism as a stack allows layer 2s to be built on it with their own trade-offs with regards to centralization, with regards to throughput, etc., or feature set even. You can have custom features. There's a lot of modularity to it. And right now at launch, we're focusing on having, of course, our own first deployment of Midgard, like Optimism is the first deployment of the Optimism stack. But another team is already adopting it to build their layer 2. The Bitcoin OS team is adopting it to build a layer 2 called Sundial. And this is sort of the first case of modularity being taken advantage of, right? The chains will have different properties and specialize in different domains. Outside of that, Midgard, the rollout will be trustless at mainnet at launch. There's no multi-sig, there's no custodian. It inherits maximally the security of Cardano. So you get censorship resistance, you get Cardano's smart contract model. It inherits the same app properties. So an app that is deployed on Cardano mainnet can seamlessly deploy on Midgard because the design is UTXO based. It has the same model. And it allows you to transfer data seamlessly between Midgard and the Cardano layer 1. Not just deposit and withdraw funds, but deposit and withdraw data. Because in UTXO based systems, smart contract protocols data is localized to UTXOs. That means moving smart contract protocols between the two chains, or between the layer 2 and the layer 1, is as easy as moving a UTXO. So it's as easy as sort of depositing funds from a user or withdrawing funds from a user. And this allows you to do some really cool stuff. Imagine you have like a DeFi protocol on Cardano layer 1, and there's a period of high throughput traffic where the network's getting congested. It's a very excited launch, right? You can now move that pool to Midgard in real time as that's happening and move the traffic and handle the traffic on Midgard, right? And this is very exciting.
So let's talk about some of that cool stuff then. What sort of opportunities do you feel as though layer 2 solutions could open up in terms of app development and other developments in the future?
Right. So high frequency trading, I think, is an important one. A lot of high frequency trading algorithms rely on the ability to interact very quickly with either an order book or a pool-based protocol. And lending protocols in general also require high throughput because the risk of lending protocols is if the network is congested and an asset is crashing in price, you need to add collateralization to it. And you need throughput to be able to make sure your transaction goes through in time before you get liquidated. I think that one, it'll enhance all the existing Cardano protocols because they can take advantage of times in congestion or just have a standalone deployment on Midgard that benefits from increased throughput and Cardano security and allows them to have features that don't exist on the Cardano layer 1. And two, it'll allow applications that typically had to be done off-chain or couldn't be built on Cardano because it wasn't suited to the architectural trade-offs, like supply chain tracking, as I mentioned before, to actually be deployed and take advantage of blockchain, right? Some things might be fee prohibited, meaning that they would have to interact with the blockchain so much that the fees would make the use case, even if it could benefit immensely from blockchain technology, make it not feasible from a business perspective to implement on the Cardano layer 1. We're here because you can get many more transactions with reduced fees. You might be able to have those applications without the same sacrifice of profitability. So something like supply chain tracking, right, might really value scalability and low fees. Because if you imagine a network of people transporting like pharmaceutical drugs across the US, to actually do this on the blockchain, which is very desirable, you have an immutable record of where everything is. It needs to be low fee and extremely high throughput because there are thousands of these trucks moving throughout the US every hour. And low fees is important as well because that would be cost prohibitive to do on a layer 1. And what this roll-up centric solution, what Midgard allows you to do is create the L2 with the trade-offs that you want. So you can pick properties that make the most sense for your domain and deploy your application there.
Let's talk about attracting people towards Cardano. We're going through a time of significant development and change within Cardano at the moment. And how do you feel as though Layer 2 solutions will help attract people towards our ecosystem?
The mechanism that how it achieves this is essentially the same way that new blockchain networks achieve this, in that when you have a new Layer 1 announcement, right, typically you're promoting some experience that you can't get elsewhere. Right, it's got a new feature that doesn't exist in other chains, or it excels in an area in ways that other chains don't. And this draws in users because they want to either experiment with the new technology, or they're interested in these features, and they can't. It's not like they can just do these things on existing blockchains, right? Layer 2s is essentially the same value pitch. It's that you can have a Layer 2 with a customized set of features that doesn't exist elsewhere, or specific trade-offs that don't exist elsewhere, or even technological advancements that don't exist elsewhere. Like if you look at a lot of the leading Layer 2s in Ethereum, it's all of them have unique value propositions, and they're promising unique experiences to users. It's the same here. Right, so maybe a developer, and even unique in the sense that doesn't exist on Cardano, right? So developers who are focused or geared towards development in Solana or account-based systems like Ethereum can actually develop in account-based Layer 2s on Cardano and still inherit security properties from Cardano and settle to Cardano, which is very exciting.
Philip, so what's coming up for Anastasia Labs over the next couple of months?
Yes, so we're full steam ahead on Midgard. Right now we have a full team of 11 people working on it, with lots of external contribution from some of the smartest minds in the ecosystem. We genuinely believe that this is the most exciting thing happening in the crypto space right now. We think that Cardano is in a unique position to achieve what hasn't been achieved anywhere else. Fully trustless rollups that inherit the full security of the Layer 1. And Cardano, on top of that, right, Cardano is an incredibly great Layer 1 to inherit security from, because the properties in the trilemma that it maximally pursued are decentralization and security, right? So if you're going to inherit decentralization and security from anywhere, that's a great place to start.
And for the people that want to get in touch with Anastasia Labs, what's the best way to reach out? How can they find you?
Yeah, join our Discord, reach out on Twitter, or reach out to me via email, philipdisarro@gmail.com.
Thanks for joining us today, Philip.
Yeah, thank you guys for your time.
So thanks, Rich and Matthew, for those roundups. And the team at Anastasia Labs has contributed to an upcoming article on the benefits of the UTXO model, so be sure to keep an eye out for that on the IO blog in the coming weeks. And of course, don't forget to follow both those projects on X. You can grab the links below. Well, that's nearly it for this month, but before we go, a few other things to bring to your attention. Earlier this month, Input-Output Chief Scientist Professor Agalos Kias was awarded the prestigious BCS Lovelace Medal. Established in 1998, the medal recognises people who've made exceptional contributions to either the understanding and advancement of computing or to computing education. Previous winners include Marta Kofiakowska, Steve Ferber, Andrew Blake, Karen Spark-Jones and Sir Tim Berners-Lee. Many congratulations to Agalos for his contributions to Cardano and the wider blockchain industry. If you want to do some further reading, we've got a few more resources for you. First off, a fresh new look for the Cardano docs site to enhance its usability and accessibility with a new landing page, improved navigation and, yes, a dark mode. Plus, easy to follow instructions for community builders to add their contributions. The team at IO also released a new blog on quality engineering at IO, bridging the research and reality in software development and testing. Plus a new site and blog, a new space dedicated to showcasing how teams optimize every step of the development process. Speaking of blogs, the team also released a two-part series on how IO uses formal methods in its development process. Formal methods encompass a range of techniques that involve applying mathematical rigor to software and hardware design and implementation. Reliability, security and efficiency have always been the cornerstone principles of engineering at IO, so have a deeper dive to find out more. And finally, I mentioned earlier about a potential new name for the next hard fork. Before we close out the show, the team at IO would like to take a moment and recognise Matthew Plomin, who tragically passed away this month. Matt was one of the visionaries behind USDM, Monetta's dollar-backed stablecoin, and a massively respected and much-loved member of the Cardano community. Since his passing, the Hard Fork Working Group has submitted a proposal that the Chang 2 Hard Fork be renamed to the Plomin Hard Fork in his honour, to be voted on by the community. At Matthew's memorial service, one of his favourite quotes was shared, words from Theodore Roosevelt, which I'd also like to share here. "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. Fine and fitting words. So thank you, Matthew, for living them so beautifully and for the impact you've made on this community. Our thoughts are with Matthew's wife, Gillian, their children, and his many friends. That's it for this month. We'll see you in December with a special end-of-year show. As we look to close out 2024, we hope you'll join us to celebrate a year of incredible milestones from across the Cardano ecosystem and the journey that we're all on. See you in December.